What happens when the monster you thought was gone walks back into your life and wants to fix everything he broke? In Dexter, Resurrection. Episode 5, titled Murder Horny, the show delivers its darkest, most emotionally charged chapter yet. But this isn't just about blood or bodies. This is about a father who shaped a killer, and a son who's starting to realize he might never escape that legacy. The ending changes everything, not just for Dexter and Harrison, but for the entire shadowy world they've stepped into. And as the truth closes in, one wrong move could destroy them both. Murder Horny wastes no time plunging us into emotional chaos. From the moment Harrison sees Dexter alive, the show abandons all pretense of a happy reunion. Harrison doesn't hug him. He doesn't cry. He explodes. The pain that's been festering since Dexter's fake death bursts into rage, and that rage feels earned. He doesn't just see his father, he sees the man who shaped his darkness. Harrison's words slice deeper than any scalpel. He tells Dexter, "I would have never killed Ryan if you weren't you." That one line flips the entire season on its head. Harrison isn't just reacting to trauma. He's realizing that his father's legacy is poisoning him from the inside out. He's not just angry about what Dexter did, he's terrified of what it means for who he's becoming. And Dexter? He tries to fix it the only way he knows how, by controlling the situation. He takes Ryan Foster's watch off Harrison's wrist, thinking he's protecting his son, but that moment lands like a punch. What Dexter sees as help, Harrison sees as manipulation. Instead of comfort, Harrison feels violated. The scene sets the emotional tone for the entire episode, raw, jagged, and deeply uncomfortable. Dexter wants to be a father, but all he knows how to be is a problem solver. And Harrison doesn't need a fixer. He needs a father who actually listens. But the tragedy is, Dexter doesn't know how to listen. Not really, not when emotions get in the way of the code. This emotional rupture carries through the rest of the episode. Harrison doesn't feel safe, not from the law, not from himself, and definitely not from Dexter. The watch wasn't just evidence, it was a symbol of everything Harrison carries. Guilt, confusion, the need to feel seen. Dexter taking it away doesn't remove the burden. It just reminds him that he's alone with it. What's worse is that Harrison is now beginning to understand the most painful truth. He might have inherited more than just Dexter's blood. He may have inherited his darkness too. And it's not just emotional chaos brewing. On the law enforcement side, things are unraveling quickly. Detective Batista is done playing games. He's piecing together every clue, every oddity, every lie that's surrounded Dexter since his so-called death. Batista sees right through the new identity. He treats Dexter like his white whale, hunting him with the precision of someone who's waited years for this moment. And he's not alone. Detective Wallace is also moving in on Harrison, carefully laying out new footage that places him dangerously close to Ryan Foster's murder. She doesn't accuse him outright, but the message is clear. They're watching him. The noose is tightening, and both Morgans can feel it. This is where Murder Horny starts to feel like a slow-motion car crash. We see the impact coming, but the characters are helpless to stop it. Dexter wants to protect Harrison, but his method is still rooted in secrets and control. Harrison wants truth, but he's drowning in fear and rage. And Batista? He's sharpening every weapon he has. This isn't just a manhunt anymore. It's personal. He wants to prove that Dexter was never cured, that he never changed, that he's still the monster who slipped away years ago. But then comes a twist that none of them saw coming. Mia LaPierre, or as she calls herself, Lady Vengeance. Her character starts like a mirror for Dexter. She's broken, dark, and isolated. But very quickly we realize she's not just a damaged soul, she's something much more dangerous. She kills for pleasure. There's no code, no morality, no line she won't cross. And for Dexter, that makes her a walking nightmare. She represents the chaos he's always feared, the kind of killer he pretends not to be. At first, they share a strange, almost flirtatious connection. They bond over trauma, pain, and isolation. But when Mia proposes a literal murder partnership, Dexter snaps out of the fantasy. She's not like him. She's a threat. This is where the episode starts building toward a new, terrifying reality. Dexter's enemy isn't just Batista anymore. It's something bigger. Mia is just the beginning. She's connected to a network, one that might be operating in plain sight. And while Dexter thinks he's won by framing her, by planting Ryan's watch in her apartment and triggering her arrest, what he doesn't know is that he's stepped into a larger, deadlier game. A game run by people with power, money, and reach. A game where even killers follow orders. And in this game, the rules are about to change. But back in the quiet moments, Murder Horny does something unexpected. It lets Dexter feel guilt. Real guilt. Not just for the kill, but for what he's done to Harrison. For the first time in years, he opens up about Rita. About how he failed to protect her. About how the Trinity Killer won. This confession doesn't erase anything, but it cracks open something inside both of them. Dexter, always guarded, shows regret. Harrison, always angry, sees vulnerability. It's the beginning of something fragile, maybe even healing, but it comes at the worst possible time. Because the people closing in on them aren't slowing down, and the war Dexter just triggered, it hasn't even begun yet, begins to take shape. This is no longer just a story of a father and son trying to mend what's broken. It's something far bigger. Murder Horny cleverly pulls back the curtain to reveal a hidden war. One that's been silently unfolding behind every death, every clue, and every choice Dexter has made. And now, with Mia behind bars and Batista knocking at the door, Dexter is beginning to realize he might be fighting an enemy unlike any he's faced before. What makes this episode so unnerving isn't just the emotional tension, it's the sense that something vast and sinister is unfolding beneath the surface. Mia LaPierre was never just a lone killer. Her pleasure in murder, her refusal to follow a code, her connections, they all point to a deeper web. The script teases this through small, chilling moments. The visit from Charlie, played with cold precision by Uma Thurman, says it all. She doesn't come to offer support. She comes to remind Mia that nothing has changed, that her arrest means nothing, that we clean our own messes. That one line reframes everything we thought we understood. Mia isn't a failed killer. She's a soldier who got caught. And now, her people are coming to clean it up. Dexter, of course, doesn't yet see the full picture, but he knows enough to sense danger. His instincts, honed from years of hiding in the shadows, scream that something is off. Mia's arrest should have brought closure. Instead, it feels like lighting a match in a room filled with gasoline. Because now that Mia's been exposed, the people she worked for, whoever they are, will want to know who put her in that cell. And when they find out, Dexter's code won't protect him. They're not like him. They don't need a reason to kill. They just need an excuse. Meanwhile, Batista continues to escalate. Every moment he's on screen, you can feel the pressure building. He's not guessing anymore. He knows. He may not have every piece, but he's piecing together enough to shake the foundation Dexter is trying to rebuild. Batista has always been the emotional compass of the original series, someone who believed in justice, even when justice failed. Now, with Dexter back in his sights, he's driven by something more powerful than evidence. Conviction. He wants the truth, not just for himself, but for everyone who was fooled. For LaGuardia, for Deb, for Rita, for everyone Dexter left behind in his wake. And his obsession is starting to look more like prophecy than paranoia. Detective Claudette Wallace, on the other hand, brings a newer kind of danger. She's not emotionally invested in Dexter's past. She's not blinded by history. She's clinical, sharp, and focused. And she's watching Harrison, carefully. The moment she walks him through the surveillance footage, it's clear. She sees the cracks. She doesn't accuse him outright, but she doesn't have to. She's planting seeds, seeds of doubt, seeds of fear. And the more pressure she applies, the more likely Harrison is to break, which is exactly what she wants. Because once Harrison slips, Dexter will follow. This is where the brilliance of Murder Horny really shines. The threats are coming from every angle, external and internal. Dexter's enemies aren't just people. They're truths waiting to be uncovered. Harrison's internal battle is just as dangerous as any investigation. He doesn't know who he is anymore. He doesn't know if he's a victim, a killer, or something in between. And every moment with his father just adds to the confusion. He wants love, but he doesn't trust it. He wants answers, but he's scared of what they might reveal. That fear begins to manifest in subtle, tragic ways. Harrison starts pulling away, not just from Dexter, but from everyone. His conversations become shorter, his silences become heavier. He's unraveling, and no one sees it, except Dexter. But even Dexter, for all his skills, can't stop the bleeding, because the more he tries to help, the more Harrison feels smothered, controlled, shaped. It's the ultimate irony. Dexter wants to save his son from becoming like him, but the more he interferes, the more he accelerates the transformation. Harrison isn't just Dexter's son anymore. He's his mirror, and that reflection is getting darker with every step. And then, we return to Leon Prater, the man pulling the strings from the shadows. Played by Peter Dinklage, Prater is introduced not through action, but through implication. Wealthy, untouchable, connected in ways that make even the most powerful cops tread lightly. We don't know exactly what he wants, but we know it's tied to Mia. And if she was one of his tools, then Dexter just broke something very important. That puts him in the crosshairs, not of the police, but of a network that operates beyond the law. A network that sees people like Dexter and Harrison not as threats, but as potential assets. Or worse, liabilities. This shift in scale is masterful. Until now, Dexter's battles have always been personal. Killers, cops, family. But now, he stepped into a game with no rules, a game run by people who don't need justification for murder, just opportunity. And Harrison? He's the perfect recruit. Young, angry, unstable. If Dexter doesn't act fast, someone else will. And they won't offer him a code, they'll offer him power. Still, Murder Horny never forgets the emotional core. That quiet scene where Dexter finally admits the truth about Rita, that he failed her, that he let the Trinity Killer win, is devastating. It's not long, it's not flashy, but it's real. It strips away all the bravado and reveals a man haunted by the choices he made. For Harrison, this is the first time he truly sees his father as a human being. Not a monster, not a myth, just a man who made a mistake and lost everything because of it. It's this moment that gives the episode its emotional heartbeat. Because for all the chaos, all the danger, what makes Dexter so compelling has always been the internal war. The struggle to be more than your worst impulses. The desperate, impossible hope that redemption might still be possible, even for someone like Dexter Morgan. But the moment doesn't last. Because as the episode ends, we're reminded that the walls are still closing in. Batista is watching. Wallace is questioning. And Prater's machine has only just begun to move. Mia's arrest wasn't a victory, it was a provocation. And when Charlie visited her in that cell, her words weren't a warning. They were a promise. This war isn't over, it's just beginning. And Dexter? He may have just started a fight he can't finish. In Dexter, Resurrection Episode 5, the illusion of control begins to unravel. Dexter has always lived by a code, a set of rules designed not only to keep him hidden, but to make sense of his darkness. It's the only thing that ever separated him from the monsters he hunted. But now, that code is cracking. And as Dexter tries to hold on to it, we start to realize maybe the code was never meant to protect others. Maybe it was only ever built to protect himself, from guilt, from emotion, from truth. This episode begins peeling back the layers of that lie, and in doing so, it shows us that the man who once hunted killers may have become one without even realizing it. At the center of this unraveling is Harrison. The son Dexter thought he could save is now a walking contradiction. He craves connection but pushes it away. He wants to be seen but hides his emotions behind anger. He claims to hate his father, but every action he takes screams for his attention. Harrison is the ultimate tragedy, a boy molded by a legacy he never asked for. And the worst part? Dexter doesn't realize how deep the damage goes. He thinks protecting Harrison means covering his tracks, removing evidence, shielding him from consequences. But what Harrison really needs is the one thing Dexter's never been good at: honesty. There's a moment in Murder, Horny where Harrison, for the first time, genuinely questions who he is. He's no longer just reacting to trauma, he's beginning to study himself, to see the patterns, the rage, the violence, the disconnection. It terrifies him. And when he looks at Dexter, he doesn't see safety. He sees his future. That future haunts him more than anything else. Because deep down, Harrison doesn't want to become a killer. He wants to be free of it. But every choice he makes, every time he lashes out or hides from the truth, pulls him deeper into the very darkness he's trying to escape. Dexter, meanwhile, is stuck in a kind of emotional paralysis. He knows something is wrong. He feels Harrison slipping. But he can't break out of his old patterns. His solution to every problem is still rooted in control: erase the evidence, neutralize the threat, bury the emotion. But Harrison is not a problem to be solved. He's a person. And Dexter's failure to understand that is what continues to tear them apart. In one of the episode's most gut-wrenching moments, Dexter quietly watches Harrison from a distance, trying to figure him out, trying to plan his next move. But the longer he waits, the worse it gets. Because Harrison isn't waiting to be saved, he's waiting to be seen, and someone else is already watching. This is where Charlie re-enters the picture. Uma Thurman's portrayal of this cold, calculating handler becomes even more terrifying in the silence. She doesn't threaten, she doesn't shout, she simply observes. And what she sees in Harrison is exactly what her organization feeds on: potential, emotional instability, isolation, moral ambiguity. These are the traits they look for. These are the kids they turn into weapons. Dexter doesn't realize it yet, but Harrison is being groomed, slowly, quietly, strategically. The visit to Mia in her cell wasn't just damage control. It was a warning to Dexter and an invitation to Harrison. And while Dexter plays defense, thinking he's still one step ahead, the enemy has already entered the room. The brilliance of this episode lies in its quiet dread. There are no massive shootouts, no over-the-top confrontations, just conversations, glances, small choices that feel meaningless in the moment, but carry devastating consequences. One of the most chilling is Dexter planting Ryan's watch in Mia's apartment. On the surface, it's a smart move. It clears Harrison. It shuts down Batista's immediate lead. It takes a killer off the board. But symbolically, it's something far darker. It's Dexter crossing a line, not to protect the innocent, but to protect himself. He frames someone. He manipulates the justice system. He doesn't follow the code. He breaks it. And in doing so, he becomes the very thing he always swore he wasn't. But even worse, Harrison sees it. He may not know all the details, but he feels it. He senses the shift in his father, the coldness, the distance. And it shakes him. Because if Dexter is willing to break the code to protect him, then what does that mean for Harrison's own moral compass? Where are his lines? Does he even have any left? This inner turmoil explodes in the final third of the episode, where Harrison confronts Dexter not with violence, but with despair. He asks questions Dexter can't answer. Do you think I'm like you? Do you think I enjoy hurting people? Am I broken? Dexter, for once, doesn't offer reassurance. He just looks away. And that silence says everything. Harrison walks out. Not in rage, not in rebellion, but in sorrow. And for Dexter, that's the most painful rejection of all. Because for the first time, he's not being feared or hated. He's being pitied. Meanwhile, Batista is circling the wagons. He's not waiting for permission anymore. He's calling in favors, digging up old files, questioning Dexter's past associates. He doesn't need Harrison's watch. He doesn't need a confession. He's building a case brick by brick, and with every step he's getting closer. What's terrifying is how methodical he's become. He's no longer driven by anger. He's driven by clarity. He knows what Dexter is, and he's prepared to expose him, no matter who gets caught in the crossfire. But Batista isn't the only one making moves. Charlie's organization begins to loom larger, not just as a background threat, but as a possible new central antagonist. There's a sense that they've been operating for years, recruiting killers, orchestrating chaos, shaping narratives. And now that Dexter has interfered, they're ready to respond. Mia's arrest may have looked like a win, but it was actually a test, and Dexter failed it. Now, the organization sees him as unpredictable, dangerous, and in their world, unpredictability must be eliminated. By the end of the episode, Dexter is more isolated than ever. Harrison has walked away. Batista is closing in. The secret society he just exposed is preparing for retaliation. And yet, the real tragedy is internal. Dexter has started to lose himself. The code isn't guiding him anymore, it's suffocating him. And for the first time, we're forced to ask a terrifying question. If Dexter stops following the code, who is he really? A vigilante? A father? Or just another killer hiding behind excuses? Murder Horny doesn't give us that answer, but it leaves us with a chilling possibility that redemption may no longer be on the table, that Dexter's story won't end in justice or forgiveness, but in collapse.